Hello and welcome to the global headquarters of Mostly Red Guitars, which in reality is my little back room here in Edinburgh, Scotland. This is my official entry for the 2020 Unofficial Great Guitar Build-Off. I'm building this guitar from various bits, and the inspiration for the guitar is the Fender Telecaster Deluxe, which was first produced in 1972 and was said to be Fender's answer to the Les Paul. I'm using a body taken from a Hohner T Deluxe, which is plywood. I'm going to cover the top with a piece of 3mm birch veneer. The neck I'm going to use is a Squire, and it's got the big CBS head in it, which will again be in keeping with the look and feel of the Telecaster Deluxe. It's in pretty good condition. I'll need to do some dressing and sanding of the frets. The body's already routed for a string through bridge. I'm going to use vintage wide range pickups, which I purchased off at eBay, and a single tone volume pot. First off is marking out the general shape of the Telecaster in the actual veneer. It doesn't have to be totally accurate because there'll be a lot of sanding getting done to bring it down to the shape of the guitar. So I'm going to cut off the excess so that we get and finish the rest with a coping saw. You're about to witness some of the most professional hand sawing that you've probably seen. It'll be obvious that my background isn't in woodworking particularly, but we got there in the end. You'll also observe my coping saw skills aren't particularly better, but again we managed. I used an electric drill to cut out the cavities for the pickups, and this is me finishing off and smoothing off the edges with a file. After the filing, lots of sanding. At this point I'm taking off all the pencil lines and any other marks from the surface of the veneer. Drilling the hole for the pickup selector switch. Getting into the right size. smoothing it off with a bit of sandpaper. And the same for the volume tone pot. Before I glued the top to the body, I loaded the top with the pickups, the switch and the control knob in the same way as you would a scratch plate. This is because the body doesn't have a rear access cavity and I don't want to create one unless I have to. The top got glued to the body with alkaline and I clamped it up and strapped it up. Now removing these straps and the clamps after 48 hours of drying. It's fit solid. The only bit that wasn't was that lower horn, and I simply just put in more glue and clamped it for another day. So now the filing starts to get the top to match the body. Start off with my Shinto rasp. And using the standard file. After the filing, some scraping, carving using the Stanley knife. And then lots of sanding, lots of sanding. I think I started out with 180 grit, then 320 and then finished it off with 400. Because the edge of the body was slightly rounded, there was a slight cavity left around the edge when the top was glued down. So I'm filling that gap with wood filler. Leave it for 24 hours and then sand, sand, sand. Now I'm masking up the edges of the body, and I'm going to start staining the top. I'm using cherry red stain from Crimson Guitars, and this is me applying the first coat. So, as you can see, a change of direction. The veneer did not take the stain particularly well. It was patchy, and regardless of how many coats I put on, it just generally looked not great. So I made an executive decision to sand it all back, which I did, and apply a solid colour, which I'm doing so now. Leaving the body to dry, we now make a start on the neck. I'm putting on some tape to protect the fingerboard, and we'll get stuck in leveling the frets and crowning them, making them all shiny and smooth and new. Leveling the frets using 320 grit sandpaper. Crowning the frets. Sanding the tops of the frets using 600, and then finally going over all the frets, 600, 800 and 1500 grit. Filing down the fret ends so there's no sharp bits, and a nice finish on them. This is me with a 1500 grit. and finally polishing the frets using T-cut and a buffer wheel on a Dremel. Remove the tape and then a little bit of lemon oil on the fingerboard and buff that. And really just keep polishing up these frets. Yet another coat of paint for the body. Keep layering it on. Watching it dry and then sanding it down to as smooth a finish as possible. Making sure the edges are all straight. Now we're building the guitar proper now, so I'm drilling the holes in the neck to screw into the body. Putting on the machine heads, screwing them nice and tight. Now we're putting the bridge on. Making sure all the string holes are accessible. And finally putting the strings on. And a short demonstration. And here is the guitar, the finished guitar in all its glory. I have to say, I've really enjoyed the last few weeks, and I'd really like to wish all my fellow challengers all the best. There are some amazing guitars out there, lots of good work, lots of creativity, and I'm just really chuffed that I've been a part of all this. Special thanks to Ben at Crimson for making all this happen, and I am really looking forward to seeing what transpires in the next few weeks. Regardless of what happened, it has been an absolute blast and loads of fun. I've learnt lots of new stuff, and I'm going to be a better guitar builder as a result of it all. Bye all.